Welcome to the first installment of Open Discussion. On this channel, I want to examine aspects and concepts surrounding the idea of a resource-based economy. So why do I call it Open Discussion if I'm the only one talking? My hope is that you, as the audience, will leave your comments on these videos. That you'll say what you like, what you don't like, what excites you, what ideas you might have, and also what flaws you see, what criticisms you have. I want to start a conversation. So today I'm going to start with the basics. What is a resource-based economy? Well, let's start by looking at what we have, which is a currency-based economy. So you go to work. You work for so many hours a day, and you get paid for the time that you work. You take that money and you use it to purchase goods and services. That company that you gave your money to then distributes that money back into the company and to the owner and to the employees, who then turn around and use it to purchase goods and services. Currency-based economy. A resource-based economy, as the name implies, is based on resources rather than currency. So what do I mean by resources? Well, resources are created by the planet. They're things like water, food, wood, metal, literally anything that we can use to do anything with is a resource. We are a resource. And don't forget that. Our time, our energy, our passion is one of the most important resources available to us, and it is far too often wasted. So how would a resource-based economy work? Well, stripped down to the most basic form, there are basically four aspects to how this would function. One, you have to remember that this is an economic model based on resources, not currency. There would be no currency. And that's a difficult concept for people to get their heads around, which is fair. Currency, money, is ubiquitous in our lives. It impacts every part of our lives, every decision we make. We've been taught from the time we were born that we need money. We have to have money. We cannot survive. Society cannot function without money. So it's very difficult to conceptualize. But that's what we're doing here. We are talking about an economic model that doesn't use money. So that's the first thing that you have to take as a precept. The second aspect is automation. And these two models react very differently to automation. Let's first look at the currency model. Let's say there's this guy working at a factory. Let's call him Frank. He's been working there for years. And one day his employers say, you know, if we automated this process, we could do it a lot faster and we could save a lot more money, which is great for them. You know, they're more efficient, they make more profit, it's great for the business. But the employee has a much different experience. You know, they come in, they automate the process that this worker has been doing, and all of a sudden, Frank does not have a job anymore, which means he has been cut off from the supply of money that he needs to live. He needs money for shelter, for food, for power, for almost every aspect of life. He needs money, and he doesn't have that anymore. What's worse, the skills that he has learned in his career are no longer valued in the business world. So he has two choices. He can go back to college, learn a new skill, which in itself requires a massive amount of money. Or he can take a lower paying job that is less fulfilling. So in the currency model, automation is very much a double-edged sword. So now let's look at the resource model. Let's go to the same place with Frank. They brought in the machines, they automated everything. He doesn't have that job anymore. It's being done by machines. He can't do it anymore. Now this is where it diverges, because Frank doesn't need money for shelter, doesn't need it for food, for power, for all those things. Doesn't need it. So instead of being a burden, he's now free to do other things. Now look at this from the societal standpoint. Frank is a resource. I know you've heard the phrase human resources, but I want you to really think about it. Change the way you think about it, because we are resources. Our passion, our energy, our time, those are resources. And Frank here, he's a resource that's been freed to do other things. Things that are needed to help society. And it also brings us to point 3. Frank has been freed to follow things that he is passionate about, that he cares about. Let's say he likes teaching. He can be a teacher. Say he likes architecture. He can build beautiful structures that are not simply vessels for making profit. He could be a scientist. He could devote himself to knowledge, to taking humanity to places it's never been before. He can be an artist and feed the soul instead of just the pocketbook. So the first place that people are going to go is places that they are passionate about, work that they are passionate about. Now I can hear you saying, that's all well and good, but what about the jobs that no one wants to do? Think about this. In the United States alone, there are 6.6 million unemployed. That is 6.6 million people, 6.6 million resources that are being used for nothing, that are available to do what's needed, things that will help society. And that's not where it stops. Remember, this is a currency-free model. So all those jobs that exist simply to make and to manage money will not be needed. Like accountants, we would not need accountants. So that's some 1.4 million people freed up. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there's about 8.3 million people working in financial activities. 8.3 million that would now be able to do other things to help society, things that they care about. Retail and wholesale, 21.7 million people that wouldn't be needed for that function any longer. Just those places alone is about 36 million people, 36 million resources that can be used to do things that are needed. And that's not where it ends. When you bring in automation, you automate everything you can. You free up more resources, more people. And that's not where it ends. Because everyone can contribute. Everyone can pursue what they love and also contribute to the things that need to be done. Now you have this entire society that can contribute to doing the things that need to be done, that can't be automated. And how much time do you think each of these people would have to devote to doing that? A couple days a week? A few days a month? If you could exchange working 40, 60, 50 days, hours a week, doing something you don't like, for spending 2 days a week, 3 days a month, very little time, doing something you don't like, would that be a fair exchange? So that's point number 4, aspect number 4, is spread the work. Spread it amongst everyone, so no one has to be burdened too much with the things that they don't want to do. And then people are free to pursue their passions, to pursue their family lives. So, aspect 1, replace currency with resources. Aspect 2, automation. Aspect 3, pursuing passion. And aspect 4, spreading the work. Now, if you're thinking that this is some kind of utopian idea where everyone's going to have 100% leisure time, it's not. People are going to have to work, but it's a different kind of a work. It's a different way of looking at work, and a different way of looking at using human resources. The world is rather like owning a house. You own a house, you have to do dishes, you have to vacuum, do laundry, maybe you want to put up a fence, or, put in a garden. And you don't get paid for any of this. There is no salary. You do it because you want your house to be a certain way. You want it to look a certain way. You want it to feel a certain way to you and to feel a certain way to others. You don't need money as an incentive. You don't need money as an incentive. And that's a concept that is fairly clear. Looking at all of the volunteer work, people doing things to help others, to help society, that they're doing for no payment, for no money, on top of the third of their lives that they spend making money. We don't need currency to incentivize us. So that's about it, I think, for the basic of what a resource-based economy is. In future installments, I'm going to look more at currency. I'm going to look at how our financial system impacts us emotionally and societally. And I'm even going to try to do a little looking at how we might work within a resource-based economy. I'm also going to put up at the end of this video a list of websites that you can learn a lot more about resource-based economies, about what other people are doing. And you can, even if you're at that point, start getting involved. But I absolutely advise you to learn, to see what people are doing, and to understand this is not an isolated movement. It's growing in power. So don't forget to comment. I'll be looking at the comments. And don't forget to follow to make sure you get future installments of Open Discussion. Thank you all very much.